this is Adam, and I just got back from a trip to Randallstown, Maryland, where I visited Ward's Chapel United Methodist Church, and I wanted to talk about this really unique design that we deployed at this church. So it was unique for some specific reasons, and I want to start with the why as to why we decided to go with this type of design for this specific ministry. When I saw pictures and was described what the existing design was, I thought that it was well done when I arrived on site. All of the cabling was done well, but it was a design for the church for previous goals for a previous time period. So it was very simple. You turn a power button on and the microphones turn on and the speakers turn on, and no one touches anything because there aren't really controls to do so. It was kind of a, maybe a 4-channel or 6-channel turn it on and it works type of system for a few microphones so that people can be heard in the room. There was an acoustic piano, an organ with pipes, and so for a long time you would be able to hear the people singing in the room. You'd be able to hear the organ and the acoustic piano just because it was a smaller room, and that worked great. But the goals have changed for this church. Now they want to be able to live stream with multiple camera angles. They want to add musicians like guitarist, a bassist, had a digital piano, and all of those things create new, I don't want to say problems, but they require new solutions that their existing system could not supply the needs for. So we went ahead and started working on a new design that would allow them to have multiple cameras for a live stream, to have musicians plug into their system and have control of that audio through the speakers that they had, as well as going to the live stream. The other unique piece of this is that they were live streaming to Zoom, but additionally they wanted to have people in the room show on the projector in the room, and you'd be able to hear them in the room as well. So people could essentially join the service remotely via Zoom. Some other things that contributed to this not being one of our more standard designs or the standard recommended pieces of equipment is that they really wanted to preserve the look of the sanctuary. It was a very, very old building, a beautiful building, and they didn't want a bunch of wires or cameras on tripods or projector hanging from the ceiling in the middle of the room, kinds of things that would distract from the room itself, especially for a church that was used to having just 2 tiny speakers on the wall, and that was kind of the extent of the technology that you would have seen in the room. Being that it used to be a completely turnkey system where no one needed to touch anything other than a single power button, they wanted to keep things as simple as possible as well. And their team of technical volunteers are very familiar with running PC computers, so we were able to do a few more complicated things, being that they fit within the PC computer world and that they would be familiar with that platform and be able to accomplish what they needed to through those computers. So let's talk about audio. We went with the Midas M32R. So this is a compact mixer, and we used SD8 stage boxes on the stage, so there wasn't a need for a bunch of local inputs and outputs, and even on the stage, their needs aren't as big as having like a large drum set and a bunch of vocalists or multiple guitarists. They didn't need a bunch of inputs and outputs, so a single M32R and 2 SD8s accomplished what we needed them to do. We added 3 hanging microphones in the ceiling so the congregation could be heard online, and we replaced their lapel microphone that would be clipped, you can't even see it in this frame, pretty far down on the shirt when I asked them to put it where they normally do. A lot more prone to feedback, so we purchased a Thor double ear headset, and we got a much better sound out of that microphone for their teaching pastors. One of the tools that we've been using at Churchfront recently is Whimsical for our designs, and I want to walk you through the audio portion of this using Whimsical. We'll go through the entire system, but we'll just start with audio. So you can see here that we have the back of our M32R, and this is connected to their computer. It's connected to a network switch, and then using the Ethernet ports, it's connected over AES 50 and Ultranet, and these are going to our stage boxes. So we used the SD8 stage boxes, the AES50 in. This ended up being a redundant Ethernet cable that we used for a different purpose. But we used alternate Ethernet cable to come over to these Turbo Sound stage wedges. And we ended up going direct as well to these two ports. So we were able to use Ethernet cable to send the audio signal to these stage boxes, and then they just required power, and they were placed next to power that was on the stage. So we had two of these SD8s. These were on one side of the stage, and then this one was on another side of the stage, and that allowed us to use a single Cat5 cable over AES50 to come to the second SD8, and then use this alternate port right here to get into the third monitor wedge. On this side of the stage, we were able to plug in instruments like the keyboard and guitar and bass, and some of these instruments went direct into the combo jacks. And then on this side, we outputted from here, these outputs here connected to their main audio system, to their speakers, and then we used the inputs on this side as well to receive some wireless microphones. So being able to use a tool like Whimsical where we understand exactly what wires are needed and where they're going is super useful as we are planning out designs like this. You can see that we were able to use USB to connect to this computer as well, so that is something that allowed us to send digital audio from the mixer to the computer, which we'll get into as we talk about how we did the audio sending back and forth from Zoom, going to the live stream, etc. For our cameras, we chose the BirdDog P200 cameras, and you can see this one's in black, but we chose white cameras so that it matched their walls better, as well as the white brackets, and it required a single Ethernet cable that sent power to the camera. It delivered data as far as controlling the pan tilt zoom, and it got the video signal over NDI. So a single cable that was ran through the wall was able to provide all of those needs, and it made it easy for them to mount them where they needed to be without worrying about additionally sending power to that spot, and it made for a really minimal look on the wall, not visually distracting. Additionally, these are easy to program. You go onto your computer and you type in the IP address and you can make all the adjustments that you need to, and then you can save those as presets, and we use the Stream Deck that they purchased to trigger those presets. So if they wanted to put a camera on Zoom for the children's time where they can show the first pew where the children are being read a story, or if they wanted to show specifically communion or teaching pastor or the organist, they can have those shots set up ahead of time and just press of a Stream Deck be able to view that camera angle. If you haven't caught on to the theme yet, this is a almost exclusively Ethernet based system. So we've got Ethernet for the audio. We're sending AES50 over to the SD8s. And just a note, this is Cat5 STP cable, so it is shielded. It's Cat5e. It is the recommended cable for Behringer Midas products. And then we've got Cat6, which is sending NDI signal from the cameras to the computer as well as out of the computer into the projector. So we were able to send an NDI feed through the network, just a network cable, into this BirdDog device as well, which is a play, so a 4K play, and just a single Ethernet cable in and power over USB-C, and then we were able to send signal from the ProPresenter computer to the projector mounted on the wall. Similar to the cameras, we're not having to worry about a lot of extra power or converters or multiple cable types. We came directly out of the network switch up to where the projector was mounted, and then just gave it power from the wall and really brought down the amount of cable types and connectors and power supplies, etc., that we needed to make that cable run. Additionally, Cat6 cable is fairly inexpensive compared to other cable types, and it carried the signal just fine for what they needed to do with it. The projector itself is a short throw projector mounted on the wall, and there's no screen. It just projects directly onto the white wall. They plan to paint it with the screen goo, the specific paint that's used to project images on, so it will not be distracting, especially when it's off. It's a white projector, it matches the wall color, so they accomplished their goal of not having anything too visually distracting with the projector as well. Another thing that we did on this trip was use these Neutrik EtherCon connectors to really solidify the connections on the TurboSound monitors as well as the AES-50. Just a small thing, but I think it makes a difference in the connection quality and durability of these connections, especially if they're going to be moving these monitors off stage, unplugging them and plugging them in for different service types, or if they need the stage to be cleared. So I really like the ability to use those connectors and know that it's going to be a solid connection. So I have to say the most unique thing about this entire setup is the fact that this church is using Zoom to live stream, and then they're bringing guests or congregation members into the room. So to figure this out, I really had to think through and actually physically draw, have it on my desk, the audio path and the video path on some graph paper here of how we were going to accomplish this. So we made sure that there was a separate Zoom computer. Their initial thought was maybe that one computer could do it all, but all of the internal audio and video routing, I thought it would be a simpler process to have a dedicated Zoom PC, especially when one could be bought for, I think, less than $300 for this Beelink mini PC. Hey, I wanted to do a little bit deeper dive into the actual computers that are at Ward's Chapel. So I'm using Jump Desktop. I'm at home now after the site visit, and I've got these two computers, the one running Zoom, and this is the one that is running ProPresenter. So in ProPresenter, if we look, we've got our inputs for PTZ1, PTZ2, and PTZ3. PTZ1 is not plugged in right now, so it would be in this first spot here. But we've got the second camera, and we've got the Zoom input right here, and then we can choose what goes to the live stream. We look within ProPresenter's preferences here. I'll show you the inputs. We have this camera is coming in over NDI. This is also coming in over NDI. This Zoom input here. And then our audio for ProPresenter is coming from the M32. So the audio for the live stream, or what's going to Zoom, is coming from the M32 over USB, and this is outputting over Pro channels 3 and 4. So if we go to our audio setup here, we've got our device to be the DN32, and then our routing for SDI and NDI over ProPresenter, which this box has to be checked. This is the M32 left and right, which is Pro channels 3 and 4. So if we're looking at this as a grid, ProPresenter, the ProPresenter channels are vertical, and then channels that go over SDI or NDI are 1 through 16. So NDI channels 1 through 2 are receiving their audio from the mixing console. So that's very important for this whole thing to work. But as far as the video getting from one to the other, we'll go over to our other computer here on Zoom. And if we were to start a meeting, we would see our input device in our audio settings is webcam 1. This is the NDI webcam audio. And then our video is also NDI webcam video. So what we're sending is audio and video over NDI webcam video 1. So what does that mean? On this specific computer, there's one mini PC that is running Zoom. If we look at the settings, in the bottom menu bar, we've got this app running right here, NDI webcam. And then we can choose a source for this, and we've chosen for it to come from Ward's Chapel, which is the ProPresenter computer, and we're choosing the live stream output. Right now, it's black. Nothing's being sent. So let's go over to the computer and choose a slide. So this specific slide is showing the camera and a picture-in-picture. So if we go back to our Zoom right here, we see NDI webcam is receiving audio and video. No audio is happening right now, but if we did, this is where it would be coming in as well. So audio and video over this NDI feed, and then we just choose that. So the people on Zoom see this. So that's great. We've got audio and video going to the people on Zoom. So we can see how it works to have the audio and video come to the Zoom call, but how do we have the people on Zoom showing up in the room? So here on ProPresenter, we've got a macro that is triggering a prop layer, a video input, and a look. So the prop layer has, let's make this full screen so you can see. It has this fill to come from the video input, and that video input selected is the Zoom video input. So that is filling up this prop layer. This prop layer is going specifically to the projector, but not the Zoom call, because if that were the case, then they would be seeing themselves on Zoom. The way that we did that is through looks. So we can check out our looks here. So we have this Zoom guest looks preset, and this shows the prop layer. Remember, that has the full screen Zoom video input to the projector. The live stream, that does not have anything except for the slide media and video input. So they're not going to be seeing themselves on Zoom. So you can see here that we have 5 different looks, and all of these looks do different things. Show the graphics in-house, or the graphics in-house and on Zoom. It shows the picture-in-picture, the graphics in the house only. We have the projector viewing the camera, and also Zoom seeing the camera. So we've set up these looks for different parts throughout their service, and then we've triggered them with macros, including some clear actions and some video input triggering actions. So we make sure that every time one of these macros is triggered, that the right thing is showing to both the projector in the room and to the live stream on Zoom. So that's how this works. I wanted to give you a closer look at the actual computers that we're using for this configuration. So again, 2 computers, one running ProPresenter and the other computer running Zoom. After we got it all configured, we had the team test it as well. I showed them exactly how things were configured. They took notes. I walked away. They practiced shutting it down and setting everything back up and going through a service on ProPresenter, testing the different camera angles, testing what looks was going to Zoom, listening on their phones to Zoom, and it was just really exciting to see them light up when they listen to their phone or their laptop on Zoom and say, I can actually hear what's going on in the room and it sounds great. And it was just an exciting moment to see it all come together. They worked really hard in all of the prep for this, talking with me on Zoom, not live streaming, just coaching calls of what the goals were, how we're going to accomplish, lining up an electrician. They were also doing a new stage configuration, so they removed a rail and we're putting a new rail up, and lowering the stage, different things like that, new carpet. But they worked really hard ahead of time, and then while I was there, worked really hard to make sure that I had the tools that I needed and helping me put the desk together and different things. So we were able to accomplish a lot together in the 2 days that I was there. So it was great by the time I left to see that they could do everything that they needed to and feel confident in using this technology for their services moving forward. If you want this similar experience of getting on coaching calls, designing a system that works specifically for your team, and even having someone from the Churchfront team come on site and help you deploy all this gear, make sure it's working right, train your team on how to use it so that they can feel confident in it as well, then you can go to churchfront.com and apply to join today. We have more of these on-site installs scheduled in the coming months. We're excited about what we're doing to partner with these churches. So make sure you hit like and subscribe if you found these videos helpful, if you want to continue to learn from what other ministries are doing. And we'll see you next time.